Welcome to The Pestle, reviewing and breaking down movies to look for insights into the movie-making process. Hosted by leprechauns. They're tiny, they're greedy, and they're hard to catch. Now, let's dim the lights and start the show.
Welcome everybody to The Pestle. Today's show is brought to you by NZT48. Unleash your full potential with NZT48 while supplies last. Side effects may include frailty, dementia, and death. This product has not been approved by the FDA. Welcome everybody to The Pestle. I am Wes.
And I'm Todd.
And
I'm Scott.
Yeah.
I think.
For now.
Okay.
For now. So this is a podcast that we like to discuss movies, and as filmmakers and actors and writers, we all just have opinions and thoughts on the movie making process, and I love picking these all apart. And man, my show notes are already out of order.
Oh, this is a perfect start to this.
Yeah, I'm nailing it.
Oh, geez.
If you don't know what that sound was at the beginning, that was me possibly inhaling a foreign substance into my lungs.
And then blowing it directly into my face.
Right
Thank you very
into
much.
your hack coughing face.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Foreign as in from California foreign? Or
Yeah, right?
okay, I guess
Because you're
foreign.
just straight off the boat today.
The airplane
right?
boat.
The airplane boat. It's the flying. You're straight off the flying boat that landed.
Did you take a
hovercraft?
hovercraft?
Yes.
Indeed.
So yeah, for those of you who don't know, this is the amazing Scott Graham over here. Played in a band with this guy for years, and now he's out in LA doing it for real instead of like the play stuff that we used to do here. So yeah, he's in town, and we thought, why not? I mean, the best movie that I can think to describe this guy is Twilight.
I mean,
so
come on.
I mean, just the coif, the hair,
True.
just he does glow in the sun, things like that. Which, by the way, spoilers. If you haven't seen Twilight, make sure to pause this because we're going to spoil. I don't know
Whether or not you actually want to go and watch this, I have a hard time recommending it.
Yeah.
But for the record, if you have any actual interest in Twilight and you don't want anything spoiled, then yeah, go watch it. This may not be the podcast for you, though.
Yeah. However, it might behoove you to actually listen to this first and then go watch it.
Yeah.
And laugh with us.
Indeed. Spoiler alert. Also, this episode is not going to be kind to Twilight.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: we're not just saying, "Hey, let's watch Twilight and then shit all over it."
Mm-hmm.
Let's watch Twilight, make notes, and if it happens that we need to shit all over it because that's what it deserves, then that's what we'll do. We're not just making up stuff because it's fun to crap on a movie.
Correct.
We're looking at it from the lens of, why did they do this? What does this mean? Why was this line written? Why is this character introduced? What's the point of this scene? All of these things, and I could keep going, are questions that we ask in every movie that we cover. Mm-hmm. It's just usually I know there are podcasts out there that focus on crappy movies on purpose, just to tear them apart, and that's fun. However, I would never want to do a podcast like that because I don't want to watch crappy movies that I don't like.
Same.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest. I went into this actually thinking that there would be parts of it that I liked.
Me too.
To be honest. And so I didn't go in with the pure intention of just trying to shred it. It just at a certain point began, and that point came very early in the film, that I just could not pull out anything.
I'm excited to see when.
Oh, man.
And you too.
Yeah. I mean, it's second one.
Second line. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
What are we going to cover then?
We'll cover a lot. We'll talk about the writing and story, and from my perspective, what makes Twilight an awful movie. And to your point, again, we don't set out necessarily. Now, this one, we anticipated that we probably wouldn't like it, but to the extent I don't think we correctly characterized. And so, yeah, we'll be all having a discussion on that, and if there is anything that we actually enjoyed about it.
I think we should have a section where I argue with you on all the negative points that we've
Devil's advocate.
Yes, where I'm Well, I mean, they needed to do Dutch angles in every scene of this movie.
Every scene.
I mean, how else do you separate yourself from all the other films that are out there? I mean, there's no other film that's doing Dutch angles like that.
Oh.
You know, maybe we could. No, I'm never.
Yeah,
gonna do
thank
that.
you.
Sorry.
And we also have, of course, special guest Scott Garrett Graham, and we'll dive into whatever he's got going on at some point.
Sure.
And then, we also have a section where Wes gets stoned on air as a coping mechanism for intellectualizing a bad movie and other such stuff and things and stuff. But hold on, I need to take another hit.
Oh man.
Well, not just Wes, but I think we can include me as well into your activities.
Yeah. I can't.
You're more seasoned than I am. I'm a lightweight. Like
Seasoned.
it's
I like
It's
that
been an
term.
all-day event.
Seasoned.
like it's something you go to school for. and-
I picture somebody sprinkling like salt on Scott. You're seasoned.
Little sprinkles of
Yeah.
cannabis.
It's like a pilot who's
We're
spent
all-
so many hours in the air.
We're 7 minutes in and we're already not talking about the movie at all.
Yeah, this is a train wreck.
This is
fair.
like a total opposite of what we say that we do on all our episodes. I bet all three of our listeners have are laughing their asses off. So
give me the thumbs up like, Wes, you're gonna be good.
should I? This is gonna be bad. This is gonna be real bad.
It's gonna be perfect.
We're gonna go through into the synopsis while you like find your breath again.
Good.
Synopsis of the film. Usually the synopsis is longer. However, this is a pretty shallow film, so we get one sentence. Bella Swan moves to Forks and encounters Edward Cullen, a gorgeous boy with a secret. And that's it. Directed by Catherine Hardwicke. Screenplay by Melissa Rosenberg. Based on the book by Stephenie Meyer. Cinematography by Elliott Davis, featuring Kristen Stewart as Bella Swan and Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen.
About 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how dominant that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
That was the best scene in the whole movie.
God,
Not
I don't
really.
know.
It wasn't.
It kind of just exemplifies everything that's wrong with it.
I mean, my major note, if I had to pick one, would be the writing is trivial, and that was a perfect example of that. It was like, what's the point in the narration? It comes in. It comes in and goes out. It will leave for like 45 minutes. You won't hear her narrate, and then all of a sudden there it is again. It's like, oh yeah, there was a narrator.
Yeah.
Weird. Anyway,
Completely pointless too to have a
yeah,
narrator.
it was just stupid.
Just let her act and be herself.
Yeah.
So this was your first time watching Twilight?
No, it was my second time watching Twilight.
Yeah. Okay. Did it hold up?
Yeah. So I did not like the movie.
Shocker.
I thought, actually, I enjoyed the experience of watching it because my wife watched it with me because she's not like a Twilight fan. However, it's one of those guilty pleasure things, I think.
Your wife is so interesting for that reason. She is like one of the most intellectually savvy humans. Has a PhD in medieval literature.
Yeah.
Wrote her PhD thesis on effectively medieval vaginas in medieval literature.
Yeah.
And regularly reads, whatever, Proust and whoever else. And she can sit and enjoy like Real Housewives.
She knows how to turn it off.
Real Housewives and Twilight. It's so great.
Yeah. So it was fun to watch it with her, but it was hilarious because she was mocking it the entire time.
Nice.
Master pancaking it with me. And the scene where he grabs her and basically flies out the window with her. Hold on, spider monkey. And then he she made this sound when he was like running with her on his back, and she was like running real fast. She goes, "Wee!" She made that sound, and I lost my shit. I was like, yes. I lost my mind. I was laughing so hard.
Those scenes were hard.
Okay. I'm just gonna run through a couple of things really fast. Number one thing, the writing is so trivial, and I understand why they were they were appealing to like a young audience, right? The high school audience that is finding out really what love feels like and what loss feels like, and so they didn't want to make it deep, because like the writing deep, because they wanted the actual interaction between them to be deep, right? So they just made it surface, and they did a good job at that, because it is the most surface writing I've ever
graspable.
Seen. It's like my 6-year-old would understand every word, and it's way too much, but I understand why they did it, right? But she says, but the story doesn't make any sense either. There's things like where he would say, "If you're smart, you'd stay away from me," but he keeps coming back to her. He'll like, she's walking away, and he runs her down and says, "You should stay away from me." Well, get the hell away from me then. Like, if you really think that. So it's really ridiculous. The acting is so over the top. I mean, when she walks in and he gets a whiff of her from across the room, and it looks like he's gonna like throw up
or come in his pants.
Yeah. And the whole time, Bella looked like she was either about to fart or about to have an orgasm. Yeah. Like she's like biting her lip like all the time, and it was just way too much. The makeup is ridiculous in it. Everybody is so white on purpose, and the father Cullen. Usually, you have a list of everybody who is all the actors in here. I'm glad you didn't make me read all that shit.
They were just all inconsequential.
Yeah. Father Cullen, whatever. His makeup is no.
Oh, the Cullen,
Cullen
doctor.
His makeup is absolutely insanely terrible. Mm-hmm. Like not done well. Like I can see the lines from where the makeup starts and stops. Other lines like you're my own personal brand of heroin. Like what is that? It's a little intense for like high schoolers if that's really your demographic. Like, chill out, man. And then the music never stops. There's never a moment to breathe. It's always there behind every single like look or angle. It's just always there, and it's so annoying. I spoke earlier, the totally random narration. It starts with narration, so you figure there'll be moments of it throughout, and there are for the first maybe 20 minutes of the film, and then it's gone for like 45 minutes, and then it'll come back, and you're like, where did that come from? Oh yeah, that's right. She was narrating her own story. Why is she narrating this story to me? There's never a purpose as to why she's narrating, right? So you're just in the dark there, right?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just couldn't bring myself to make any of the VO notes.
Oh, dude, it's brutal. I mentioned it earlier as well. The Dutch angles kill me. I mean, every single scene has the camera like this or like that. You're totally off kilter, and I can understand the point in doing it if you're flying with him or something, and you're just trying to catch up, right, with him, or make him seem like he's going fast. So you do this kind of like off-center thing,
or when they're hunting down one of the victims.
Right, exactly. That's a purpose. But I'm looking at the person. We're talking, there's a dialogue going on, and I'm like this. There's no reason to do that. There's nothing that tells me any kind of information that I need to know because of the angle of the camera. So that was absolutely blew my mind. That's stupid. The investigation montage that she does on him. When she's when she Googles him or Googles what is going on, she's like, and is hilariously terrible. And all of this is leading me to the biggest thing, the problem that I have with Twilight. Yes, all of that is bad. The writing is shitty. The acting, and let me be clear. Stewart and Pattinson are great actors.
Absolutely.
They have done some really amazing stuff. And in anything that you see them now in, it's really, really good. So I do not blame them for this. I think that they were told to do everything they've done in this film by the director and the producers.
Yeah, and I would even go a step further and blame it on the writing. This is one of the very few films, because as a rule, you never blame the writer. It's ultimately the director who is dictating the writer. Like, hey, I don't like how this scene is working. Can we work it this way? Can you go towards this direction as an arc, or remove this character? Like, ultimately change the dialogue. The director is supposed to have the final say on all that. But with Twilight, this was based off a novel that did so incredibly well. I think this whole crew felt beholden to that, and in fear of offending the fans, huge fan base.
Yeah.
And
Totally agree.
The last people in the world I want to upset are teenage girls.
Girls in general, but especially girls. Yeah.
And so this is like the 0.1% of the times I think we'll ever say you got to point at the writing a bit here.
Yeah. So my last thing. Oh, sorry.
No, just to finish that thought, I think I'm beginning to feel something here. And so my lips are dry.
Oh, jeez.
And so
I'm never going to finish this episode. Oh, God.
And so whenever you have this problem of such a massive lack of depth, they start trying to overcome that through performing their feelings and putting everything.
Yes.
And so as a director, you're trying to say, how can I communicate what I need to communicate without the writing there to support it?
Yeah.
Oh, let's have them emote, to the back of the room, kind of garbage. Anyway, that's...
Well, the only thing I was going to say, the last thing, until it's my turn again, is that this is the kind of movie, like, main problem I have with it is that this kind of story really fucks up generations. Meaning, like, the demographic for this kind of film is so impressionable, especially when it comes to emotional stuff like love, right? Their story is absolutely, ridiculous. It's not, it's kind of like you and I, we can watch, or listen to, or be told the story of Romeo and Juliet, right? But that is also a ridiculous story.
Mm-hmm.
And by ridiculous, I don't mean like, impossible. I mean dangerous, as in, if you are waiting for that, you might be waiting forever, right? If you are waiting for this lightning strike thing to happen, then there's so much that can go wrong in your life. One, you may not ever get that person because you have your standards are so high for what you need to feel being with a person that you are putting all of your eggs in one basket, in their basket, right? And that is too much pressure for them. Also, it makes you think that you need to feel that way about everything. When you're a kid, when you're a teenager, you're so impressionable that you think that that's the feeling you need to have for everything, for what you do for a living, for where you live, for the friends you have, for the wife or the husband that you want to have one day. And so it's this huge, massive weight that is put on a whole generation of kids who were brought up on Twilight to say, I want to meet my Edward Cullen. I want to meet my Bella, where like I can't breathe unless I'm in her presence. Like I'm totally lost. I remember feeling that way, and it was the worst feeling ever. Even if I knew that the girl that I was into was like still was into me, it was not ever a good feeling. I felt like so needy for that person. And so this is the kind of story that like hardens that for kids. And I it's terrible. It's like a terrible experience that I don't wish on my kids for sure.
I think that's going to be the next quote on the box art of Twilight.
What?
That's going to be their quote that they put on the cover of Twilight from
The story that fucks up generations.
I wouldn't recommend that to anybody or my kids. Nice.
In quotes. Yeah, I love it.
Todd said
the Pestle podcast.
Yeah.
Well, for a minute, I was like, "Are you like giving like Twilight a theme? Are you like giving it like some sustenance? and
Yeah,
some
I guess
meat and
I
depth?"
guess I
Wow.
did.
I don't know
Yeah.
how you did that?
I-
Bravo.
A true magic trick.
It's through sheer hatred. That's what it is.
But like in the same sense, like
And apathy.
a big problem I had was just the way they changed the characteristics of like vampires in general. Like they made them like this like super saccharine white bread kind of monster.
Yeah.
They were like they're supposed to be like this dark evil blood sucking killer. Is it? Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Blood sucking killer kind of monster, you know, like, and they just made it so watered down and Disney and just weak.
Yeah.
And I found that very offensive.
As you should. As you should,
Yeah.
man.
So you weren't a fan either.
No.
No.
Figure someone get their
Say it
ass
a few more
kicked, saying
times.
something like that.
Hell no, man. No, not at all.
right.
And especially the music. I mean, yeah, coming from musicians, Todd and I, it's easy just to cringe at what's happening. I don't even know what was happening. It was like this weird bits of piano with some like really corny strings, and then this like shredding guitar would come in like
Yeah.
like what? This is an 80s movie? This was in 2008?
And then as a redeeming factor, they throw in Radiohead at the very end. I'm
That was
like,
a big note. I was
okay,
like, Radiohead, no!
like that's supposed to redeem this whole movie. Like even Radiohead has their limitations. Right?
I'm just going to assume they didn't see the movie and just were like, nah, there's some money, cool. Here's some money.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm sure they got the rights to use that song before Radiohead actually saw the film, right?
I hope.
I
Come on,
can't see Tom York being like, yeah, I want to be associated with that. He
Tom
talks
De
like
Niro?
this. This is how Tom York talks.
Tom De Niro?
Meh. Tom De Niro.
You like my songs?
So Scott, not a fan
yeah.
of the music then?
No. Hell no.
What about the acting or the
I mean, yeah, I mean, Bella and Ed, I mean, you could see the chemistry. You could see like there was something happening, but it just seemed empty.
yeah.
And like I'd seen a quote or something that I keep forgetting the guy's names. Patterson, something. Robert Patterson?
Yeah.
Pattinson?
Thank you. He had completely isolated himself from anyone for 2 weeks before filming so that he could feel completely isolated. I said isolated twice. But I mean, it showed because he was just super empty and a shell of a human in every scene, whether he was like trying to be thoughtful and whatever. He was just, there was nothing inside of him. So, I mean, yeah, it was tough. I didn't like that. No.
No. Well, we decided to do this movie because you were coming into town.
Yeah. Thanks.
So
So
treat.
I think I've done 3 of your podcasts and 2 have been bad movies. So I appreciate this. The Room.
What was the other one?
The Room was the other one.
Well,
what was the third one? What was the good
Oh,
one?
The Big Lebowski,
oh, that's right. Shoot.
which is
That was
a
a good one.
wonderful
That's a good
movie.
It was
Yeah.
a good day.
So, 2 out of 3 movies or podcasts have been bad.
okay.
So I'm kind of seeing a theme here. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, we make up themes. And
Yeah, so I really think it took maybe 90 seconds for me to start hating this movie.
okay, what was it?
The deer scene or whatever.
After the deer scene, I was like, okay. I mean, she was laying it on thick. Like, I never thought I'd have to face my own death or whatever, And then jumping into the next scene, I could just feel the veneer because she was, like you said, she kept narrating, and then it was about why her parents were sending her off to some town you've never heard of, filled with, hardly anybody at all. And I was like, oh no, this is okay. Yeah. And from there, I was just waiting to like it again. I was like, okay, maybe it's their chemistry once they get together. And so my notes began rather quickly. So, and I'll just shoot through them because this will take no time at all.
Perfect.
So on story and writing and the problems there, and it's very expositional. And so anytime you hear someone talk about exposition, that's a way of the characters usually discussing or showing some information about their backstory, the world they live in. It could be, well, the mayor here has been here for 20 years and he don't take, no crap from nobody. Okay, well, now you're just telling me about the mayor. That's exposition. That's information or background in the world. And in this film, it's super all the time exposition in your face. And it's very like, this is how I feel about XYZ. I'm having to go and my parents are leaving me and I love my dad and I love, that he's so nice to me or whatever. It's just like you could be showing me these things. Oh, and whenever she gets to school, that's so-and-so. Oh man, and they're the hottest. Like it's just all this very on the nose information just being shoved at you. I'm dangerous. You don't want to be around me. Run. Like whatever. And the problem is there's very little chance for us to think for ourselves by showing us or devising some clever scenario to demonstrate a fact or, something that might be otherwise considered exposition. Oh, he's 100 years old. I don't know. He has a bad back. I don't know. But there's got to be some way that you can deliver the fact that they like each other. There's just no visual storytelling whatsoever in this film. Everything's just very declarative. All the dialogue is very declarative. I'm declaring my feelings for you. And in films, that's usually just condescending to the audience in a way that never respects them to pick on the fact that, oh, they're making googly eyes with each other or they're dancing around a topic about going out. Like you never have any of that. It's, I'm madly in love with you and, I like you and I don't like you. And even whenever she's not saying these to another character, just in case you didn't get it, her voiceover pops on to let you know.
Yeah.
I don't like this boy. I like this other boy. Like, God, man. And so in keeping with that, there's also no arcs. And because everything's so declarative and everyone's always telling you what they're doing and how they're feeling right now, you never really have a chance for anybody to want something and to go after it and fail and for us to make you want anything at all. There's just zero arcs in character development. He goes from being mean and distant to liking and loving her for no apparent reason whatsoever. And I'll get to character issues, I guess, at some point. But she finds out who he is, right? And accepts him for who he is. Okay, cool. But she never really had a reason not to. There was little need to make a decision at all. It was always just kind of a given that they liked each other instead of actually making each other earn their affection. And for her, you never felt she was in any actual danger. Like the temptation from him was all verbal. It was all bark. There was never any bite. It wasn't like he, threw her against a wall and then
unintended.
So frustrating. There's a lot of what I just labeled try hard. Just kind of you're making these efforts and you can tell it feels forced. Like the humor in the volleyball scene. Like the humor doesn't need, I don't feel like humor on screen always has to be humor for the audience. Like I need to laugh out loud. Instead, it can often be humor that's not laugh out loud funny to us, but is amusing to the characters and maybe even just a little amusing to us. And those kinds of things are what makes characters feel endearing towards each other and like real people. Because not everything you say is going to, just have the room rolling. And having these little bits of light humor can just kind of make that work in the world's favor, world building and whatever, suspension of disbelief. But like in the volleyball scene, it just reeked, man. She suddenly has friends who love her and everyone in the movie just suddenly magically loves her. Oh, you hit me in the head with the volleyball, which is ridiculous on its face anyway. No pun intended. But he turns around and just kind of like ribs her and like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then Anna Kendrick's character, probably a good reason to write names in the thing, but her character kind of pops out of nowhere. Oh, that's Bob. And he's mine. And we're going to be all good friends and blah, blah, blah. And it just came so easy. It was just like, oh, you're funny, you, ha, ha, ha. Like it was literally that dialogue in action. And It just felt forced and unnatural. This isn't how high school students talk, first of all. And also another try hard scene. The car in the parking lot just randomly loses control, right? And that's, of course, in order to give Edward a chance to be a hero. There's like 1,000 more natural ways that you could have had that same thing happen. Whether it was her crossing the street or whatever,
or it could have been a car and that happens, but like in a different place. It had to be in the parking lot so the whole school sees it.
And it's just how it comes around the corner and he's just suddenly losing control. There's just no reason for it. It feels so ridiculous. And I mean, we get it. We want to see that he's fast and strong or whatever, and that's a surprise. And it's part of revealing his secret, as the beautifully short synopsis put.
But you could do it in a smarter way.
Way smarter.
In a way like that.
You could do it in a way that reveals character about everyone in that scenario.
Yeah.
Because you have two people, and the only thing that scene revealed was that he was fast and he cared to save her. Okay, great. But what if you could have demonstrated that she has a character flaw in herself? Maybe, through her depression, she's trying to step in front of traffic or just loses track. She's so into her music.
That's
like suddenly you can start revealing character motivations and character faults through this scenario. And instead, now we look at, the only black kid in school and suddenly think, oh, you're an idiot. That's about the only realization you can have. Or even some other character trying to hit her, which, I don't think any of those characters would have interacted. I don't know. There's a million ways you could have beefed this up to be meaningful to the story and to the characters. And they just did
Missed
not. Yeah. And then later in the film, when the dad's buddy dies, the little fishing buddy in the boat, he dies. Like, why do we care? We don't know anything about the buddy, first of all. And even worse is we don't really even know or care that much about the dad. We're just supposed to care just because. And I feel like everything in this movie should be tagged with just because. Like, they like each other just because. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason... It's so funny. So that guy dies, right? The only other scene he was ever in was the one in the diner where he told her that he reminded her he was Santa Claus.
Oh, right.
It's that guy.
See, I didn't even know.
Which was a total throwaway line.
Yeah.
100%. The two lines he had were completely thrown away and pointless, had nothing to do with the story at all.
Just so they could kill him.
Just so they could kill him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's stupid.
Really?
It's like watching Sesame Street and somebody loads a gun. It's like, what's the point? Now I got to see it go off.
Yeah.
On Sesame Street. You're screwing up my kids again. Thank you, Twilight. Fuckers.
So going into the love story, like,
Calm down.
Yeah, I went a little far.
with Bella specifically, what's special about her?
I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And why are they connecting? Why is she and Edward connecting? Do they have any common interests? Is there any witty repartee? Like, no, we're not getting any of that. They just see each other across the room, and
It's just
I guess he likes the way she smells.
well, it's because he can't read her thoughts.
Right.
That's what's intrigues
Which
him.
has zero indication on why that is.
And it doesn't mean that she should love him.
No.
Right. He still needs to earn her love.
Yeah, he's intrigued by her because he
Yeah.
can't read her thoughts, but that's nothing to do with her.
She only gets
liking
interested
him.
when he ignores her.
Yeah.
She's like, ooh, maybe I like this.
And that's why that synopsis is so good. And by the way, that I didn't write that. That's just IMDb's. I copy and paste from IMDb every week.
Wow, IMDb thinks that of them too.
Yeah. And so, but that's all it says, right? She encounters a gorgeous boy with a secret. Like, okay, great. And so that's kind of all of it with their love connection. Like, this is all tone and moodiness. There's no actual story about who they are and how they fit together and what they ultimately want or need from each other and why they want or need that. Like, we just see they're, I guess, lonely, and it's not delivered in any meaningful way. It's just random isolation, which I realize happens. But even within that, there's a story, there's a context, and we don't really ever experience any of that. It's just kind of announced, and they move on to the next thing that they're going to announce. And so my, I guess, last note, take that with a grain of salt, but by the end of the movie, I don't know any more about any of these characters than when we started, as in who they are, how they've changed. We just get superficial facts about them. I am a vampire. I love you. This is my dad. Like, this is all incredibly superficial, and they're just throwaway factoids. But the drama and the danger is needless. It's not born from any genuine story needs or conflict. People just do things just cause something should happen, not because anyone has any goal or dramatic needs. And that's ultimately why, you know, there is no layer and depth to this. At any point, like literally, I'm sure I could cut like a 10-minute version of this movie that is mostly told in like music montages. Like, you could have told this entire story through a music video.
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally agree.
that's super depressing for a 2-hour movie. You had the time, man.
Yeah.
And whether that's, you know, trimming down characters, making her earn all this affection and adoration. Like, I know you could, and people are, and y'all are very optimistic, but people are probably making the argument that, well, no, that's the point. Like, you are worthy of being loved and having love just for who you are, not for what you do. And to a large degree, I agree. And that's what family is for. But the rest of the world doesn't care. Like, it's about what you are to them. And that's the same thing that the way, you know, most of us interact with the world. Like, I'm going to be around people who do something for me, even if it's not like tangible. There's something emotional that they're doing for me. And it's through the way they, you know, love and appreciate me, or the way they, you know, make me laugh or make me feel. And we never have any of these little moments where any of the characters, much less Edward or Bella, ever justify why the world should care and react to them the way that it's doing, because they have no goals, they have really no likes, and and
that hits home on that point that I made about this being dangerous for generations, because then what are you basing this massively intense love on? There's no foundation, right? Because then what happens when you know, Bella and Edward have been together for 20 years, right? And you know, Edward's like, dude, you gonna leave your underwear laying around again? Like, you don't do, I've done the dishes 5 times this week. Can you help? You know, like, there's no foundation when stuff starts to go wrong, and stuff will go wrong because you are individual people. Like, it's never going to be perfect all the time. And so to paint the picture of it just being perfect out of nowhere with no basis for it in either the story or in any kind of special interaction that they have, whether that's, you know, nonverbal or I don't know, then it's just meaningless. Essentially. It's like it's weightless.
It really is. And it's frustrating. I mean, literally to spend 2 hours with a group of people and you never really get to know them just feels like a really big waste. And I love these types of movies in the sense that I love teeny bopper, you know, high school love stories. And like, I've probably watched every single one of them that's come out in the last 15 years that hit a theater. I should probably qualify that somehow, because I don't watch whatever CW or O.
Yeah.
But like Me, Earl and a Dying Girl, The Spectacular Now, Before I Fall, Paper Towns, like there's so many great movies that actually give these characters depth. And I don't mind that, you know, some of these actors weren't playing. Oh man, we didn't even get to like the worst part. Sorry, I'm jumping here because this is
the
too
best
good.
part.
Yeah. So
when it ended,
let me get this straight. Just one of the scant few, if you would like to air quote it, plot details here, is that they're vampires who are a century plus, and they're hanging out and cruising high school girls. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I had that as a note. Like, why is Edward going to high school again? Like, for the 400th time?
Like, I'm pretty sure you could pass for just graduated. For, you know.
Yeah.
I guess they made it seem like it was to like fit in with the community.
Right.
But that seems like bullshit.
And then they're outcasts.
Yeah, but they
In
still
school, they
seclude
like only
themselves.
sit with each other,
Or
but
if
they
the
want
sun's
to fit
out,
in,
they stay home.
and they stay home. Yeah, it's just
makes no
ridiculous.
They could just start by staying home. You're done.
Yeah, and then they, they stay in one place as long as they can, but then they have to move. But how many places can they move where it's not very sunny? Like really,
Where are they
they're
supposed to
in
be?
Washington. They're in Washington. It rains a lot.
We go to Washington and then we go to Alaska.
Yeah, that's it. They're like back and forth, I guess. I don't know.
Portland, maybe.
It's just like doesn't make any sense.
At all. And I would hope that, like, gross factor aside, however you feel about a 100-year-old dating a 17-year-old, like, I would just expect a centenarian to just want a little more, I don't know, political savvy. Like, you're 100 years old. You care about the taxes in Seattle. You've read 1,000 books. Like,
Yeah.
You've had discussions, hopefully, with some of the most fascinating people you can ever imagine over the last 100 years. I feel like I've done that, and I'm not yet to 100.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you can have any kind of intellectual satisfaction from this kind of relationship. Like, he should be hitting on the teachers there.
Unless he's just that dense.
Yeah.
And has been for hundreds of years.
Right. Yeah. Maybe.
That's why he hangs out at high schools.
Like hits on high school girls.
There was a point where you were saying, or one of you were saying, but that's the one thing that I couldn't wrap my head around was the fact that I think it was her first day, and everyone knew her name and acted as if they knew her or had known her for a long time.
Yeah.
Like that whole setup was so uncomfortable for me.
It's so weird.
Like,
Everybody like
Bella,
wanted.
you're Bella?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like
I want to be around
this is
you.
her first fucking day at school. Like that doesn't happen.
No, everybody.
You are in the back of the room like a ghost. In normal, I would assume in most schools, if you're new to a school, like no one cares about you. No one knows who you are. No one cares.
No.
Yeah.
But it was just like, she already had her own clique within lunch.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Yeah. She had like 4 people sitting with her.
Yeah. I was like, get out of here. Come on. Anyway.
Yeah. That's not how high school works. Come on.
And then like,
You could tell a bunch of grown-ups made this movie.
oh, totally. Well, and then again, still.
Just move it down.
Oh, get some FaceTime.
Yeah. There you go.
And then a big thing in the movie that really bugged me, speaking of the clique, but like I feel like they spent so much time building this relationship with the high schoolers or her clique. And then the second act happens, they're gone. Third act happens,
Yes.
they're still gone. You don't even see any of these characters for the like 2/3 of the movie. Like, why did we spend an hour, maybe more, building up this whole relationship with these high school kids when you're not even going to use them for the whole movie?
Yeah, no.
What's going on?
It really feels a bit like an extended, I don't know, Saved by the Bell. Like, we're just trying to give you a high school experience by giving her some amazing friends, and we're mildly tracking their dating lives. Oh, he said yes. Oh, y'all look so cute together. Yeah, we do. Like, it's just this very faux attempt at fleshing out the world. And I think it largely stems from we don't have a story to tell.
Yeah. I mean, and every...
We're going to tell it for a long time. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole, in every movie, there's like a bad thing that happens that they need to overcome, right? And in this one, even though there's like these bad vampires, they seemingly come out of nowhere. Even though we've seen them twice, they were the ones, or no, once, because they weren't, okay. So it was the Cullens that killed the deer in the beginning, right?
Right.
Because they hunt animals.
They killed the friend on the boat.
Yes, that's the first time
I think so.
we see them, right?
Yeah.
Do we
Because we
see-
just hear about some other guy dying, but we never meet him.
we never
don't
meet
see
him.
it.
I think there's a shot of them like all like walking down the woods in slow-mo. That's how they introduce them.
Yes.
Something. But they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. It's just the typical,
Yeah.
we're walking slow-mo towards the camera. We're so cool.
Yeah. So there's this thing, right? And then the way that they introduce them to the Cullens is just hilarious, right? So there's this thing, right, where you say in a film or on camera, if someone's about to get bad news, they should answer the phone with a smile.
Mm-hmm.
Because then there's a change in the
Yeah.
dynamic all of a sudden. If they answer the phone sad and then something happens that's sad, there's no dynamic change, right? So you're just still sad.
Yeah.
You're more sad. So there's this thing where you do that, you know, you're happy and then you answer the phone and, oh, no, Nana died. Oh, you know, or you're sad and you get a call. Oh, I got a promotion, whatever. So this is what I think that they tried to do in this moment when they're playing baseball to Muse.
Oh,
And during a thunderstorm, because they hit the ball so hard that it sounds like thunder, which is hilarious. Anyway, so they're having fun and everybody's happy, and apparently Bella is the umpire for some stupid reason. And out of this happiness comes the bad vampires, and then all of the like drama shit really, you know, like starts to happen after that, right? She has to leave her father and like go somewhere else so they can take care of her. It's like, thanks, Edward, you just fucked my life like completely, and my dad's probably gonna die now. So, and my mom definitely is. So,
well, he
thanks
does
a lot.
apologize.
Oh yeah,
just
that's
to be
right.
clear,
He does
he's
apologize.
Like, I'm sorry for bringing you here.
But it's just a very bad way. It's not done in the right, like they try to adhere to that rule and they do it in a very piss poor way.
That's a great spot.
Right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely dead on.
That really bothered. It was so jarring to me. It was not dramatic at all. It was not like I'm happy and now I'm scared. It was like should I be scared? I mean, they're leaving. They left. So do I really need to be scared? Oh, you're going to sit now. They left because you guys were all together. Now you're telling Edward to take her away from the group because we got to go grab the baseballs and shit and pack everything up.
What's amazing about that is if his grand plan is to kill the guy, like at what point would you have been stronger to just grab him and rip him apart right then and there?
Maybe with everyone there, which is what happens in the end because they all meet up at the end and then do it. It's like, just do it right there. Especially if the bad vampire, the black bad vampire, goes to the Cullens and warns them about this guy.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you just help the Cullens kill the guy anyway? Because you're telling them to kill the guy, so you should have just done that.
Yeah, and that's what they do throughout the entire movie, right? Is we're gonna create fake drama in order to have something to do.
Yeah.
Instead of giving people actual goals and motivations, which creates obstacles. Mm-hmm. And if you give people competing goals, then suddenly they become each other's obstacle. And now we have a dramatic need for each character to play against. And now you have, motives for doing bad things to each other. Like, that's where most movies, do their thing.
It's essentially a daytime soap opera.
Yeah.
That's their whole shtick, is what you just said.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's a perfect example of a capitalistic reason to make a movie.
Yeah.
Because they could have told you said you could have made this movie in 10 minutes. They could have told all three of them in one movie. Right? But why do that when you can make 3 movies?
Right.
So they made
I think more.
I think
Are
they
there
made
more?
5.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, God.
Yeah. Don't dwell on it.
Yeah. I was earlier today because after the movie finished, I was like, wait, there's 5 of these?
5?
I think so. Yeah.
Are you sure?
And they made so much money. Yeah, no, because
You're right.
The cheapest disc that I could find had all 5 on them.
So you have all 5?
I own all 5.
Oh, you.
You want to come
Wait a
binge
minute.
watch?
It's more expensive. It's more expensive to buy 1 than it is to buy 5.
Correct. I bought this for like $9 on Amazon, and the others are like 15 and 20 each. And I was like, oh man. And then on top of that, I would have had to get the Blu-ray versions, and those just take up so much space on my hard drive that
I did notice that it was only a gig and a half or something. Oh man. Wow.
such a train wreck.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I'm looking at you, Scott. What else you got, man?
All my notes are just random little.
Yeah, I want to hear some random little.
Okay. Steak, red meat nutrition negatives have been recently debunked. Easy vegan.
See, this is the gold I wanted. This is the gold I wanted.
Yeah, there's something about red meat by the vegan vampires, which just I don't know. Piano chopsticks. There's a scene where Edward's playing piano, and it's just like he looks like he's just playing chopsticks, and Bella's just like, oh man, like
his left hand isn't moving at all.
I mean, it kind of looks like he's playing, which is
his right hand kind of
cool,
does,
but then like you really look, and he's like just playing like two little notes next to each other, like that kind of just go down.
They're not even trying.
It's like, all right,
okay.
Oh,
these are good.
Can we talk about like just the CGI, like
So
the sprinting and the tree climbing and like what?
Yeah.
Hold on, Spider Monkey.
Here?
the sparkling and the
I gotta show you this.
All the forest stuff. Anything that happens.
Why
in the
do you have
forest.
to show me that you glow? Like, I don't need to know that. Why do you have to show me that? It's like,
and
I
it's
already know you're a vampire.
it's the kind of thing that I wouldn't normally be fine to overlook, like
so
bad
bad.
CG or bad. But because of how much I just hated the movie, it became like this cherry on top of, y'all weren't satisfied with the absolute double decker y'all laid on the celluloid.
Double decker.
You had to like pull out all the stops.
I mean, were they on strings when he's running through the forest and it looks like he's not moving, just like pumping his arms and just like like the crouching tiger, hidden dragon.
Yeah,
kind of thing?
probably like that.
But wow, they fucked up.
I would imagine
Yeah, not nearly.
it
as
was
cool.
either that or, sometimes they'll have these tracks where they have a truck pull the tracks, almost like a treadmill, right? And so, they run on top of that, and then you dolly the camera, and suddenly they look like they're going crazy fast.
Oh man, it did not work for me. I'm
No.
sorry.
No, it just made it so much more deliciously awful.
I mean, and let's be honest, like that is also the kind of thing that you can do practically.
Mm-hmm.
You can make someone look like they're going so fast practically with camera movement and position, and with what you're capturing, right? And you could even do it with the camera still. Like a savvy DP cinematographer could make him look like he has just traversed a mile in 2 seconds, done with the right shots. But they chose to make it campy and literally show it, but not put the actual smarts and the money behind making it look
Right.
good.
Believable. And then the other shots where they go fast are like just fast forwarding. Like we're gonna speed ramp in and out.
Speed ramp.
Wow,
Yeah.
man.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, so you were saying like the practical stuff. It looked like they were trying to make it
Right?
look
Yeah.
practical.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
made it even better because it was so bad.
Well, and what I mean is like practically you can do that, but you gotta have a lot of tight
Right.
shots and stuff. And they were shooting wide, like super wide, where he would run from one side of the camera to the other, or the camera would pan with him, so he's looks. And the thing is, if you're panning with a character moving, the character doesn't look like they're moving that fast. So you have to move the camera fast, right? So, but that means that you're focusing on the actual character more. So that's when the CG would actually come in. Good CG would come
Right.
into effect.
Like I probably would have opted in this particular scenario to get a really long lens and set up pretty far away. And then you're trying to frame them like maybe a medium, maybe just a headshot for coverage. And now whenever they start, on the right and you're on such a long lens that you can pan over tracking with them as they're running and have them run for quite some time. Like you have just so much space to make, and with that distance and with that kind of lens, you're getting a ton of parallax between the actor and the background.
Yeah.
So that in that parallax, that background movement is what's going to give you that sense of speed.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So parallax is just basically if you have multiple things in the distance. If you think of like a golf range, and you have the 100 yards and the 200-yard marker. If you imagine kind of lining those all up, next to each other, and then just kind of leaning back and forth, you'll kind of see them shift around in different degrees. That's the idea of parallax. Like things move differently.
The thing that's farther away will move more. Seemingly move more,
depending on how you're framing, because it might look like it's not moving at all. Like if you were to grab a wide angle lens, and then if you imagine a mountain in the distance versus your car in front of you, and you have the car framed up right in front of your camera as you walk, like the car's going to move a lot, but the background, the mountain's going to pretty much stay in the exact same place. And that's mostly because also the mountain isn't moving. But in the example I was talking about before, like having a character walk across and you're framed up really tight on him, now suddenly it does look like the background's moving a lot because we're tracking with him and he's moving through space. So we're keeping him, stable within the frame, and doing that makes just so much motion blur in the background that, and even better if there's anything in the foreground, like more trees and stuff that you're whipping past, it just feels like he's going.
I always just think of the opening shot of The Thing. That you pointed that out that I missed at the very beginning of it. It's amazing.
Wait, what?
Crazy.
Go back and watch The Thing.
I did recently, yeah.
Oh, okay. The opening shot, I know we're whatever. The opening shot, where the helicopter comes over the mountain. There's another mountain in the background behind it.
Oh, yes.
And it looks like it's just flying by. It's like flying through. It's like, it's going really fast, but it looks like your camera is pretty still.
Which is because they were so far away.
They're so far away with such a long lens. Yeah.
It's
wide.
And they're just sweeping this right to left in a chopper. They had to be in a chopper.
So the closer mountains don't look like they're moving at all, but the one in the back looks like it's just
like
flying.
It's floating right behind. You're like, what
is that? Clouds
happening?
or what is going on? Yeah.
Is that kind of like the Lord of the Rings effect?
Oh, the vertigo shot. No, that's
not kind of the same concept.
No, it's different.
It's different.
Very.
Yeah.
Which they probably could have used some of those shots in here. Like at any point, whether it was him, Edward, and I'll talk about what we're talking about here in a second. But like if you have Edward suddenly having this realization, like I'm struggling to control myself right now because I want to feast on her blood. I don't really understand his temptation, to be honest, but what he's struggling with.
I just like hearing you say feast on her blood.
And what you could have used is what we were talking about a second ago, a vertigo shot where you have a subject and you have a nice layered shot where you have something, a road going to a character, and a character sitting in the middle of the road, and then another 100 yards behind him you have a forest. And if you get a zoom lens and you frame the character specifically in the frame, like maybe his head barely touches the top of the frame and his elbow is at the bottom. Well, as you either push in or pull out and you adjust the zoom to keep him stable within that frame where you still keep the head at the top and the elbow at the bottom, then there's a thing called compression that can either squeeze or de-squeeze the background. And it gives you this anxiety feeling. And some people just call it like a dolly in or a dolly push. But it's basically, I call it a vertigo because that was where it became famous in Hitchcock's Vertigo, in order to give that sensation of fear of heights. But you can use it in a multitude of ways that can give a sense of anxiety or being overwhelmed or confusion. Like you can use it for all these emotional reasons. That would have been a good camera trick to break out, because there were so many bad camera tricks that they were using that it just became frustrating as, to say, I feel so bad for this crew right now because there is so little depth in the writing. I think they were trying to use every trick to create some kind of visual drama to help emotionally connect us with what the characters are experiencing. Like, oh, we're just going to sweep this camera through the forest relentlessly because that's the only way we can generate excitement. And that is bad.
It's just...
That's a perfect way to end that.
So poetic.
So I have a question. I don't know if you can help me with this. Maybe Todd can. What's up, Todd?
I don't know. Is there a pause button?
Oh, no, I had a question, and I'm hoping both of you can help me figure this out because I was perplexed and annoyed. I was annoyed throughout the whole thing, let's be honest. But the sucking out of the venom part, where Edward Edward alone had to save Bella's life by sucking out venom from her body, but only enough to not kill her. How did that not turn her into a vampire?
Well, I think it's the venom that turns them into. So she was being turned into a vampire. Is kind of what I think, right?
Yeah, that's my impression.
Yeah. So they don't just suck your blood and you're a vampire. Apparently,
they have venomous.
They have venom
glands.
I guess. Not only can they pull stuff out of you, but they can put stuff in you. So yeah, something like that.
So she got bit at one point
by the evil dude.
The evil dude bit her forearm.
God, I feel dumb. All right.
No.
But still, I was just like,
no, but this movie will make you feel dumb.
Where's the mythological science in that? She should be a vampire already. That's not how it works. You can't just suck it out. It doesn't work like that.
You know, Google it. They all glitter in the sun.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're super fast and super strong.
Yeah.
Because that's what vampires are now, I guess.
Yeah.
Apparently. I don't know. I just, you know, I try to find endearing things, like good things about every movie. I think we all do, right? Like, even if you watch a crappy movie, you can kind of walk away from it with this thing like, yeah, but, you know, I just cannot find one in this film.
So obviously had a really good soundtrack. If you just consider, like, I guess the soundtrack, not that it was used.
Yeah, but it was
wisely.
There you go. Wasn't used the right way. Yeah.
So the one thing I really do like, and I'm being sincere here. So the first time I watched it, I thought I remembered liking the cinematography, which turned out that was not what I was feeling. What I must have been reacting to was the location. Like the location itself is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like they found some really badass places to shoot in. I wish it had been served by a better story and some other things, but
it was beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous location. Yeah, that was mine.
No, yeah, I actually, you know, the shot of them after he takes her up the tree, of them in the tree. Mm-hmm. I said out loud, I was like, oh shit, those are real people in that tree. Like, that was too. Like they actually did that.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful valley down there. Like, this is a gorgeous place.
Well,
I would
Pacific Northwest, I assume.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. I would totally love to.
I mean, that's
live
heaven
there.
for me. Like anytime I've traveled up there, that's like Coeur d'Alene, Seattle, Washington in general is just gorgeous.
I mean, Seattle next weekend.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Ooh, cold and rainy.
I want to go.
It's gonna be real cold.
I hope I get nice and clammy and can find the hot
yeah,
chicks.
right. Yeah. You're gonna have to go to just all the high schools.
Apparently.
Yeah, because that's where they all hang out.
I don't know if I'm mature enough for them on Edward standards.
Wes, I would stay away from the high schools. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless you're 100 years old and a vampire.
Right.
But not 100 years old and a vampire that doesn't look 17.
Well,
Which, by the way, he did not look 17 in the movie. No. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Vegetarian vampire.
So, what do you rate it?
Oh my God. I'm going to give it a 3.5. And that's being generous.
You are?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice. Out of 5.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Out of 10. I forgot we were doing this out of 5. Your eyes. Your eyes were. I've never seen your eyes so big.
Mad.
No, I'll give it a solid 1.
Nice.
1 out of 5.
Yeah.
I just can't find anything that I like would tell someone is good about this movie, and it's not even that I'm, you know, now a almost 40-year-old dude who just can't identify with kids.
Yeah.
No, I can identify with kids. I really can, and I feel like I still am one, and I just don't get it. I do not get this at all. It is like I mentioned before, the whole Romeo and Juliet thing.
Mm-hmm.
If any kid would ask me, I would say go watch the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet. Go watch that movie. It's as damaging, I think, relationship wise as this is, but it is a good movie. It's
great.
It's a fucking great movie. So, yeah, that's an example of how to do something like this well.
Yeah.
And this is just not.
No.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, yeah, I'm on Todd's level. Like, I want to try to give it like a little higher, like a 1.5, just because Radiohead's in it. I mean,
It's a cop out. It's a cop out.
There's songs at the credit, which just was like icing on the coffin, which is not the right term.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
It's just like, no, not Radiohead. Nah, 1. That's being generous.
Yeah, same. If 1 is the floor, then I'm good with the floor. I'm sure there's some movies out there I would really push for a 0. I mean, there's a lot of things that aren't bad to look at in this movie, I guess. Yeah. And I guess the audio quality could have been bad. And it was like, we're at the point where I'm trying to compliment the sound mix.
Yeah.
It's got location.
Great. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I'm good with a 1. It's a very solid 1 out of 5. And
all right.
That's generous.
We're very much on the same page here.
But Anna Kendrick in the prom dress didn't help at all?
No. I mean, I love Anna Kendrick, though. That was...
Yeah.
There's so many great actors. That's one of the frustrating things. This whole film is overflowing with fantastic actors. Nikki Reed is amazing.
Yep.
If you've never seen 13, which is where Catherine Hardwicke got her start, she directed this, and 13 as well. And that's a great movie. And I'm just like... Anyway,
the one high schooler girl, the one with the glasses, the nerd, she's the girl that's in The Walking Dead.
Oh, right.
I forget her name, but
yeah,
that's the thing.
Wow.
She was good in The Walking Dead for a season or 2 before it.
It goes to show, it's the acting, but it's also the script.
Yeah.
It's and if you're telling them to act poorly because of the poor script, that's a pretty bad recipe. But here's the thing. We're 3 people sitting here giving it a 1. And this movie, this franchise made so much money.
Hundreds of millions
of dollars. And so
this one made worldwide $392 million.
Oh my God.
$392 million.
Since its release, it's made that much?
Yeah.
Oh my.
That's
what was opening weekend?
That was 2009. God. I mean, since then it's made, I guess, thousands. But yeah. Opening weekend was like 70 million. Wow. Yeah, 69 million.
Yeah, does this show how much it cost to make it?
37 million.
Wow. That's actually low.
Yeah. I mean, the ones after this, I think, get much more expensive.
Okay, hold on. That makes sense. Now, that actually puts a lot in perspective.
Mm.
They only spent $37 million to make this movie.
They didn't know what it was going to be.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
And both, I don't know what Kristen Stewart had done before this, but I think...
what was that?
The Land of Women?
No, maybe, I don't know. The movie about the guy that goes out to Alaska to live by himself.
Something in the Wild.
Into the Wild.
Into the Wild. Yeah.
She's in that. She's one of
the
hippie girls.
He's a hippie girl. Yeah.
That's when I first saw her.
That was before this.
I think so. But that's the first time I ever saw her, and I was like,
okay,
who is that?
I really liked her in The Land of Women. I thought she was fantastic.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, okay. So 37 million. All right. That's still that's no excuse.
Yeah.
No excuse for the things that the problems that we had.
Yeah.
All of the problems that we're talking about are not money problems, except maybe the CGI thing, but that you could get around that with good camera stuff.
Reco for the week?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, do you think you can guess it?
I don't. I've been chewing on it.
Have you?
Okay. Because the only one I would have off the top would have been something you've already recommended. The End of the Effing World. I'm pretty sure you've already recommended that.
I have.
That would have been my top guess.
Vampire.
Interview with the Vampire?
Ooh. That's a good one, though.
That's a very good one.
Yeah.
I was almost.
I need to watch
that. Was
that
this
again. It's
close.
been a while.
It was this close to doing that one. You were this close to being right.
Scott.
Well, I'm going to say it. You're going to be like, oh, yes.
Nosferatu.
No, but
That would be
also. That's also good. Into the vault, man. I'm going to recommend Let the Right One In.
I have not seen that.
Oh man, you want?
Is that the Swedish movie?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Go watch it immediately and learn what.
Okay, see it.
Learn what real love. Like it's a good story about what real love.
Yeah.
Real love, not this bullshit. Like real love. Yeah. Go watch it.
Yeah, that was the first movie that you told me you went to the theater to watch that. And I was like, oh, snap. Todd gets movies, man.
Oh,
We're going to be buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved it.
What do you got, Scott?
So I had just finished this series and I was planning on using it if I was asked. So I'd already had it in my head to recommend, what is it? The Haunting on Hill House. It's a Netflix show.
Oh, I wanted to watch
It came
that.
out last year. It's
Yes.
got the kid from E.T., Elliott.
Yes.
He's not a kid. He's an adult. He's
Right,
the
yeah.
father. He's absolutely amazing. But so I just finished it a couple nights ago. And then as I'm watching Twilight, Elizabeth Reeser is one of the vampires. And she's in
No way.
The Haunting on Hill House. She's one of like the main characters. There's only like 5 characters in the whole.
Full circle.
Yeah. And it kind of freaked me out because I was like, that's what I was going to suggest.
Oh man.
But it is, yeah, dude, it's great. It's a great
Okay.
show. It really is. I mean, it's got a little bit of like the horror thing, you know, there's obviously it's a horror show, but the way it's told, like the story and the way they like slowly release information and
Oh, I love
how
that.
you're like pulled in by like what's up with this house. But like the acting is on point. There's 2 separate families that are the same family. It's like old and young family. And it's just cast so well. Like the kids look like the adults.
Oh, dude, that's great. That's a good
It's
point to
amazing.
make. Sometimes a lot of times they just overlook that and they just cast like a good
Dude.
kid actor or something. But
It's like spot on.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
yeah.
Cool. What was I gonna say? I don't know. It's great. It's awesome.
Okay.
And there's an episode cinematography wise that I want to say it's only 5 or 6 shots total seamed together.
Whoa.
One shot's 16 minutes long, and they're
What?
for real. I'm not joking. You can go. There's a behind the scenes about it, how they made that episode, and I think it won like maybe an Emmy or something for best episode.
Did you hear that?
But it is rad.
Wow.
And the whole
All
time I'm
right.
watching it, I'm like, oh, they haven't cut. Oh, okay. And I keep watching it and still haven't cut until
All right,
10
I'm
minutes.
queuing that up.
yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, it's
that's going into
dope.
I'm gonna do that too.
the old
It'll
QZ
hook you in,
pie.
man.
The Haunting on Hill House.
Yes.
All right.
And season 2, I think they're gonna make one coming out next year. So,
Oh, sweet.
dude, it's legit.
All right, man.
Nice. I'm going to recommend Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. Kind of a basic, fundamental high school movie filled with nuance and character development and all those things you may have lacked this week. Yes. So
I love it.
go check that out. Short spotlight this week is I'm not sure if it was a short or a commercial. I just found it on Vimeo and really liked it. It's called Crust, the Birthplace of Pizza. And it's by Tourist, which may or may not be an ad agency. Again, I don't know. But it's this kind of ad or promotion where they go into Italy and they're all being pizza snobs, and but it's like real people being interviewed, and it's very obvious. If it doesn't make you laugh, I'll be super shocked. But yeah, it's just all of them saying what should and shouldn't, what is a pizza and what isn't. Like starts with the guy saying the top of the pizza should look like the flag of Italy. You know, you have your red sauce, you have your white cheese, and you have your basil, like, and that's it. And so yeah, go check that out. You can do that at the show notes. and I'm still a
What?
little high.
You could do that at the show. What? You can see that in the show notes. You can do that at the Pestle. Oh, Pestle podcast. Okay,
Yeah.
come on.
Don't forget, subscribe, review us on iTunes.
Drink some water. You got a little bit of your tongue gone.
And if you want to leave a note on this episode, you can do that at thepestlepodcast.com/Twilight.
And we'll leave you with a quote of the day from Ernest Hemingway. There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. Have we done that before?
I don't know. We've done Hemingway for sure.
I've definitely read that before.
Really?
I just don't know
Dang
if it's
it.
been.
I need to start keeping track then.
Were you high when you wrote this?
Maybe.
No, I don't even care if we've done it before. It's totally fine because it's so good and true.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to Stephenie Meyer, but it just didn't feel like she sat down and bled at the typewriter.
Yeah.
It felt like she sat down and said, how can I capture an audience? Which I don't necessarily have a problem with. I mean, that's part of the game, is making a living. I make things that I don't really have an emotional stake in.
Did she write the screenplay?
No, but she wrote the novels.
Right.
And I'd have to imagine this is very closely aligned with the novels. You mean the voiceover itself just feels like we're trying to hear all the first person narrative that's going on in the book. And that's just so impersonal. And I feel like that's why these characters really don't have any point of view in the world or in their own lives, is because, someone didn't sit down at the typewriter and bleed and put her heart and reality into this. I feel like so many of the best stories come about because you're willing to be vulnerable and put your own life and heart on display. And this felt like the least vulnerable movie I've ever seen.
Heavy.
That really sucks.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me angry and annoyed. And why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been an hour and a half, and there's still 30 minutes left. Come on, stop.
Well, I love the quote. I think it's good. I don't care if we've done it before. It's very true, and that's what I think we should, as viewers, not as critics, but as viewers, expect. Is at least for that, at least for the attempt.
Yeah.
Even if it falls flat, just try. It didn't feel like that was there.
Like The Room had more heart.
I mean,
He
really,
tried.
Oddly, yeah.
really,
Yeah.
it absolutely did. I agree.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, this has been fun.
Yeah.
I hope you're doing all right.
I'm okay.
Okay. I enjoyed it. Scott, did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
Every time.
joining us.
How can everyone hear more of your stuff?
I have an album online now as of September. It's called Through the Looking Glass. It's on all the things, Spotify, iTunes.
Yeah, you can do that at the show notes too.
You can do that at the show notes.
I'm on Instagram if you want to see my weird photos of whatever I'm doing. That's about it.
Nice.
I'm not all over the internet. I'm trying. No Twitter. I don't know.
You're a shitty salesman. Come on, man.
I am a horrible
it's a
salesman.
really good record.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
man.
Thanks, man.
We'll link it in the
Yeah.
we'll link it on the website at thepestlepodcast.com/Twilight, and we'll link your Instagram, and it's Scott Garrett Graham. Check out his album. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, and dude, you're talented, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It was fun to make.
And this is a guy that I used to fight with all the time about like what was good and what was not good. And
A lot of 80s talks.
Yeah, we
I was like, the 80s weren't bad. He's like, no, the 80s are bad.
We're terrible
No,
in
they
90% of
weren't.
the way. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. I had a blast. I think we all did. Hopefully you guys did at home. Join us next week where we're doing
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yes. Yes. The blessing. Which is going to be amazing. I'm so excited because you've only seen it once.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's only seen it once, and it's been a long time.
Very long
I mean, 90% of the quotes I say in my life are from this movie. So we'll be doing that movie next week. Until then, I'm Todd.
I'm Wes.
I'm Scott.
Go watch the movies.